The freighter shuddered as it dropped into the planet's orbit, lights flickering across the metal hull. Jard leaned against the railing of the cargo deck, watching the swirling clouds below. This planet, called Xiren, was rumored to be rich with rare minerals, enough to make a small fortune for anyone bold enough to mine them. Jard had taken jobs like this before, always for profit, but something about Xiren felt different, quiet, tense, and alive. The hum of machinery in the freighter was steady, comforting even, but Jard felt a strange unease creeping over him. He had worked among humans and aliens alike, but the feeling told him that this trip would not be like the others. Somewhere in the darkness, beyond the freighter's viewports, something was waiting. The first sign came when the ship's comm crackled. "Human trader," a soft voice whispered, trembling yet clear. "Please, can you help us?" "Who is this?" he said, his voice steady but cautious. "Show yourself." She stepped forward, careful and hesitant. "Please," she said again, bowing slightly. "Can you buy us? Our people's suffering. If someone buys us, we might be free." He studied her more carefully. The Virelian woman Lyra, she said her name was, had features both alien and strikingly human. Her movements were graceful, careful, as if she feared sudden motion might anger someone unseen. Her skin shifted slightly, like liquid metal, reflecting the freighter's lights. Jard felt a strange pull, not attraction, but a sense of responsibility. "What happened to your people?" he asked, his voice low. They are enslaved," she whispered. "By a corporation that mines our world. They take our children, our elders, everyone. We have skills, knowledge, wisdom, but they only see profit. Please, can you help us?" He had been a trader, a smuggler, someone who relied on deals and negotiation. But this was beyond any deal. "I need proof," he said finally. "Show me what's happening, then maybe I can decide if this rescue is possible." A holographic screen flickered to life, showing images of her people. Jard's breath caught. Rows of Virelians were lined up in metallic structures, machines binding their limbs, overseers with mechanical devices monitoring every movement. Children clung to their parents, elders bowed beneath invisible weights, and all around, the air shimmered with a cold, artificial light. "They are alive," she said softly, her voice trembling. "But only barely. We survive because we must, not because we are allowed." Corporations like the one Lyra described didn't take kindly to interference. He took a deep breath. "All right," he said slowly. "Let's say I want to help. How do I buy you or your people?" "I swear it." "You said your people are being held. Where exactly?" He also had to trust this alien woman, and that was a leap he had never taken before. But something inside him told him he could not walk away. He nodded. "We'll need transport, supplies, and stealth. And I'll need more information, everything about your people, their skills, and how they survive under that corporation's rule. I will tell you everything, but we must leave soon. They sense changes, movements. Any delay, and many of my people will be lost." He glanced out at Xiren's swirling clouds, imagining the lives at stake below, the creatures counting on him without knowing it. "All right," he said. "We leave at first light. I'll make sure we have everything we need. But you must stay close, follow instructions, and trust me. That is all we ask." She was quiet, watching him, her hands folded in a subtle gesture of respect. Jard realized that this mission was no longer just about him. It was about her people, and the chance to prove that humans could rise to a challenge greater than profit or survival. Night fell over the freighter deck, but Jard couldn't sleep. His mind raced with possibilities, dangers, and strategies. Somewhere out there, the Virelians' fate hung in the balance. And somewhere inside, a spark of something stronger than fear grew inside him. A sense that humans, clever and courageous, could truly change the course of an alien civilization's future. By the time dawn broke over Xiren, painting the clouds with gold and violet, Jard had made his choice. He would help the Virelians, whatever the cost. And in doing so, he would discover not only their courage, but his own. The kind of courage that had nothing to do with profit and everything to do with humanity. As the first rays of light hit the freighter's hull, Jard prepared for descent. Below him, Xiren awaited, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And beside him, Lyra's hand rested lightly on the rail, a small gesture of trust, hope, and connection. The adventure had begun. Jard guided the freighter through Xiren's thin upper atmosphere, the engines humming with precision. Below, the planet's surface stretched in a vast patchwork of jagged cliffs, deep valleys, and glittering mineral deposits. The Virelians' main colony lay somewhere in the northern reaches, hidden among the craggy hills and fortified by machines and drones. Every mile they descended, Jard felt the tension grow heavier in his chest. Lyra stood beside him, her luminous eyes scanning the displays. She had provided what little guidance she could without attracting attention, but her fear was evident. "The colony is heavily guarded," she said softly. "They patrol constantly. Even one mistake, and they will destroy anyone who moves against them." Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, considered brash, reckless, or self-serving. But he had a sense that here, that perception could be used as a tool. If the corporation did not anticipate humans as a serious threat, perhaps they could gain the upper hand. He pulled up the holographic map Lyra had given him. The northern colony was a complex of metallic structures and cages, surrounded by patrol routes marked by glowing orbs, security drones that hovered silently above the ground. There were towers with scanning beams and transport vehicles moving in predictable loops. "Most will follow the routine," Lyra explained, tracing a slender finger along the hologram. "Some drones are controlled from the central tower. If it falls, their coordination falters." "We'll need to split the team," Jard said finally. "Some of us will create a diversion. Others will go in quietly to extract as many as we can, and we have to make sure the drones are distracted at the same time. And that unpredictability can be useful." Lyra assisted by giving details about the colony's weaknesses, ventilation shafts that led to storage areas, hidden tunnels between structures, and patrol shifts that created short windows of opportunity. As night fell over Xiron, Jard made a final inspection of the freighter. He moved silently through the corridors, checking systems and double-checking fuel levels. Every detail mattered. The stakes were higher than anything he had faced before. Lyra appeared at the doorway to the cargo bay, her presence quiet but commanding. "We must move soon," she said. "Every hour brings more danger. The overseers are suspicious. They sense change." "Keep your people ready." Jard felt the familiar thrill of tension, a mixture of fear and excitement. "Almost there," he said, eyes scanning the horizon. "Remember, one slip could alert them. Move carefully." Smoke rose from several chimneys, the smell of industry carried faintly on the wind. Jard studied the layout carefully. Patrol drones hovered in predictable patterns, moving in loops around the colony. Some were armed, others simply monitored. The humans and Virelians would have to use every advantage. "Look," Lyra whispered, pointing. "There, the vent shafts. They lead directly to the holding cells. The guards rarely check them." A low hum began, building gradually into a loud mechanical roar as the ship maneuvered toward the cliffs. Drones immediately reacted, scanning the freighter, their beams slicing through the darkness. Jard held his breath, heart pounding. The diversion had to be convincing. Then, with a gentle push from Lyra's guidance, he and a small team descended on ropes toward the ventilation shafts. The metal grated under their weight, and for a moment silence prevailed, only the distant hum of drones and the faint wind in the cliffs. "Keep moving," Jard whispered. "We're almost inside." The faint sounds of movement reached them, the clatter of metal boots, distant murmurs, and occasional mechanical whirs. Jard signaled Lyra. She moved forward, sensing the layout with precision. "This way," she whispered, guiding them through a maze of corridors. "The holding cells are just ahead." "Stay quiet." One wrong move, his voice trailed off, but everyone understood. The team reached the first holding cell. Jard examined the locking mechanism. It was crude but reinforced with electronic sensors. Lyra studied it carefully. "We can bypass this," she said. "Follow my instructions." Wires were connected, sequences memorized, and locks manipulated. Finally, with a soft click, the door swung open. Inside, several Virelians crouched in fear, their large eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Jard stepped forward. "You're safe now," he whispered. "Follow us quietly, and we'll get you out." Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the corridors, a red light flashing as the corporation's automated defenses detected unusual activity. Jard's heart sank. Time was running out. "Move," he shouted. "Everyone, stay calm and follow the route Lyra showed you." The team worked together seamlessly, human ingenuity combined with Virelian agility. Jard used his knowledge of the freighter's systems to trigger temporary EMP pulses, knocking out a cluster of drones and giving them precious seconds. "Almost there," Lyra whispered, leading them toward the extraction point. "Just a little further." "Get aboard quickly," he shouted. "The drones won't stay distracted for long." As the freighter lifted off, alarms blaring below, Jard felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had succeeded, at least for now. But he knew the danger was far from over. The corporation would not let this go unnoticed. Lyra approached him, her eyes glowing softly. "You risked everything for us, human. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do. Sometimes humans can surprise even themselves." That's the first step. Above, the sky stretched wide, and for the first time, Jard felt the weight of hope, not just for the Virelians, but for what humans could achieve when they acted with courage, intelligence, and heart. The journey was only beginning. The freighter moved quietly above Xiron's northern cliffs, its engines humming softly as if holding its breath. Inside, Jard sat with Lyra and a few of the rescued Virelians, monitoring the systems and reviewing the escape plan. Their first success was thrilling, but the human trader knew better than to relax. The corporation that ruled the Virelian colony would not take this lightly. Every mile they traveled from the colony increased their chances of safety, but also their risk. Lyra paced the cargo deck, her luminous skin reflecting the freighter's dim lights. "They will search for us immediately," she said. "Once they discover their prisoners missing, there will be drones, patrols, and enforcers everywhere. You must be prepared for pursuit." "We can't outrun everything, but we can think our way out." "Lyra," Jard said, "can your people help me with the systems? The freighter can hold more than we're using. If we're chased, we'll need more than just speed. We'll need traps, diversions, and maybe even a little chaos." "But it will be dangerous." The engines were modified to create decoy signals, making it look like the freighter had split into several smaller ships. By the time Xiron's second night fell, the freighter was ready. The crew of humans and Virelians were tense but alert, the thrill of freedom mingling with the fear of pursuit. Jard gave the final instructions. "Stay calm," he said. "If drones come, do exactly as we practiced. Don't panic. Lyra and I will guide you. Everyone knows their role." They had survived the extraction, but the real challenge was only beginning. Suddenly, a pulse of energy struck the freighter's hull. A warning light blinked red. Jard's heart raced. "They found us," he muttered. "Get ready, all teams to stations." The freighter split its energy signature into multiple false readings, confusing the drone's sensors. A swarm of drones appeared in the sky, scanning in loops, but their readings bounced between imaginary targets. "Keep going," Jard shouted, adjusting the freighter's path. "We'll use the cliffs to block them. Make them lose line of sight. We can generate short bursts of interference. It will knock out sensors temporarily, but it drains our energy. We must use it carefully. We're not safe until we're off the planet." These creatures had endured years of oppression, yet they followed his instructions without complaint, trusting him even when the danger was clear. Suddenly, Lyra's voice broke the silence. "They are sending a larger force, heavily armed drones with ground patrols. We can't fight them head-on." Drones flew overhead, their sensors sweeping the canyon, unable to detect the freighter hidden below. Jard held his breath as the seconds ticked by, feeling the weight of every life aboard the ship. Finally, the drones moved on. Jard allowed himself a small smile. "Good work, everyone. That was close. You understand danger and opportunity." The rescued Virelians needed safe transport, but more importantly, they needed a plan to reclaim their lives without drawing the corporation's wrath again. "Once we reach the station," Jard said, "we'll lay low. We'll rest, refuel, and plan the next step. We can't stay on this planet much longer. It's too dangerous. It sees possibilities we do not. That is why we survived." The Virelians moved carefully, taking in their surroundings. It was not a palace or a safe haven, but it was a place where they could catch their breath and plan. Jard led them inside, sealing the freighter and activating basic defenses in case of pursuit. Once inside, Jard gathered everyone. "Listen," he said. "We've survived the extraction and the first chase. That's a major victory. But the corporation won't stop. They will send more drones, more patrols, and they will not give up easily. We need a plan for long-term survival. We need to combine human ingenuity with your skills. Together, we can outthink them." Hours turned into a quiet night. Outside, Xiron's sky glowed faintly with distant storms and scattered lights from the corporation's facilities. Inside, Jard and the Virelians shared a quiet camaraderie, their alliance strengthening. "I never thought humans would care," Lyra admitted softly. "Most outsiders see our kind as property, as tools. But you see us as equals. Then perhaps we have much to learn from each other. Not blind hope, but careful, calculated hope. the kind that comes from knowing that humans, clever and adaptable, can face danger and emerge stronger. As the freighter rested quietly in the hidden station, the alliance between human and Virelian solidified. They were not merely survivors. They were a team combining ingenuity, courage, and skill against a corporation that believed they could be controlled. The night passed slowly, filled with quiet discussions, plans, and shared stories. Lyra spoke of her people's culture, their love for art, science, and exploration. Jard shared human experiences, past struggles, moments of triumph, and lessons learned from mistakes. Both races found common ground in their desire to survive, adapt, and flourish. As dawn approached, Jard looked out at the first light touching Xiren's cliffs. The corporation's drones were still searching, still a threat, but for now they were safe. And that safety, fragile as it was, gave them time to plan, to grow stronger, and to prepare for the challenges ahead. He turned to Lyra. "Rest now," he said. "We'll need all our strength for what's coming, but remember this, humans can do more than you think, and together we're stronger than any corporation, any drone, or any force that wants to keep us down. And I will follow you, wherever this path leads." And in that first step, he saw the spark of something powerful. Humans could survive, humans could inspire, and humans could change the fate of entire worlds. The freighter rested quietly in the hidden bay, a small island of hope amid a sea of danger. And above Xiren, the night sky stretched endlessly, full of possibilities, challenges, and the promise that the adventure was only beginning. The hidden bay was quiet, almost peaceful. The freighter rested against the cliff wall, its engines silent, and the rescued Virelians were cautiously exploring their temporary haven. For a few hours, it seemed like the danger had passed. But Jard knew better. Corporations did not forgive. They did not forget. Somewhere above Xiren, patrols were searching, drones scanning every ridge and valley, and enforcers preparing to strike. Jard walked along the cargo deck, reviewing the freighter's systems once more. Lyra followed closely, her glowing eyes alert and worried. "Do you think they will give up?" she asked softly. "No," Jard replied, his voice steady but tense. "They won't. Not until they see all of their prisoners gone or until we're destroyed. That's why we need a plan for the next step. Staying here is safe for now, but it can't be permanent." Small tables were set up, holographic displays projecting maps of Xiren's northern cliffs, the corporation's patrol routes, and possible escape routes. The Virelians studied them with cautious interest, following Jard's explanations. "We have a small window to move," he said. "The longer we wait, the more drones and patrols they send, but we can't rush. One mistake and everyone aboard dies or is recaptured. We need stealth, we need patience, and we need to use what the Virelians know about their world. But reaching them will be dangerous. The drones are faster than your freighter. They may notice." When everything was ready, Jard gave the order. The freighter powered up, moving silently toward the cliffs. The first pulse went out and the drone sensors flickered. A few patrols paused, scanning the area. Jard held his breath as the freighter slipped through shadows and rocky outcrops, moving with precision. "Keep steady," he whispered to the team. "Don't make a sound. Don't do anything they might notice." Armed with stronger sensors. "Brace yourselves," Jard shouted. "Hold your positions, follow instructions." Sweat beaded on his forehead as the seconds ticked by. Finally, the drone sensors glitched and the pulse failed. The freighter surged forward, slipping past the patrols and into a narrow gorge leading to the cave system. Jard exhaled slowly, feeling the tension drain slightly. "That was close," he muttered. Lyra looked at him with admiration. "You remain calm under pressure. Human courage, it is different from ours. It inspires others." The freighter's engines were silent, and the crew could finally breathe without fear of immediate pursuit. Jard allowed himself a moment to relax, but only a moment. "We are safe for now," he said. "But we can't stay here forever. The corporation will eventually search the cliffs. We need a plan for leaving the planet entirely, or finding a place to fight back. You'll teach me your energy techniques, knowledge of the terrain, and ways to move undetected. We can become stronger together." The Virelians shared their knowledge of the planet's hidden paths, natural traps, and energy manipulations. Jard realized that while humans could improvise, the Virelians had insights no human could imagine. "Look here," Lyra said, pointing to a narrow tunnel on the holographic map. "It leads to an abandoned facility. The corporation used it decades ago. Drones rarely patrol there. If we can reach it, we might find supplies, tools, and shelter." Jard took the pilot's seat, Lyra beside him, guiding the maneuvers. The cave entrance loomed ahead, a tight passage leading to the outer cliffs. "Ready?" Jard asked. Lyra nodded. "Always." Jard moved slowly, deliberately, heart-pounding. Halfway through, the freighter's sensors picked up movement, two patrol drones approaching quickly from above. Jard activated a small energy pulse, sending false readings in multiple directions. The drones hesitated, scanning empty air, but they adjusted quickly, and one drone's sensors locked on the freighter. "Brace!" Jard shouted. He twisted the controls, diving sharply toward a shadowed overhang. The freighter scraped slightly against the rock but continued forward. Lyra concentrated, extending a pulse of energy to temporarily blind the drone's sensors. It faltered, giving them just enough time to slip through the passage. Inside the open cliffs, the freighter accelerated, climbing higher to avoid detection. The tension was nearly unbearable. The Virelians held tightly to supports, eyes wide but focused. Jard felt a mixture of relief and anxiety, relief that they had passed the trap, anxiety that the corporation would not give up easily. Finally, the abandoned facility came into view. Rusted walls and old structures marked its presence, but it was largely intact. Patrols were minimal, and drones showed no immediate interest. Jard guided the freighter to a hidden landing pad, careful to avoid old machinery and debris. The team disembarked, moving cautiously through the facility. Inside, they found old storage rooms, equipment, and even a few dormant security systems. Jard's mind raced with possibilities. With the Virelians' help, they could repair and reactivate equipment, fortify the location, and make it a safe haven. "This is perfect," Jard said. "We can hide here, gather supplies, and plan, and if the corporation comes, we can use the facility to our advantage. Together, we can survive anything." They had survived near disaster, and for the first time, the rescued Virelians began to feel the possibility of freedom, not just escape. Jard allowed himself a moment to reflect. The danger was far from over. Corporations were relentless, drones relentless, and the skies and cliffs above Xiren were still patrolled. But here, in this abandoned facility, they had the advantage of preparation, teamwork, and ingenuity. Humans and Virelians working together could challenge an enemy that had once seemed unstoppable. "Rest now," Jard told the team. "Tomorrow we plan the next step. We've survived today, but we have much more to do. And remember, humans like you Virelians can do more than others expect. Together, we are stronger than they know." Inside, humans and Virelians prepared for what might be their greatest test, united by courage, intelligence, and a spark of hope that nothing, even a corporation, could fully extinguish. The freighter rested quietly, ready for the next journey. And in that moment, Jard knew one thing: the true test was not just survival, but the will to fight back and reclaim what had been stolen. And he would not let them fail. The sun barely rose over Xiren's cliffs, casting a pale light across the abandoned facility where Jard and the Virelians had spent the night. The air was crisp, filled with the faint smell of metal and dust, and for a moment, peace seemed possible. But Jard knew that corporations never slept. Their drones and enforcers would soon begin sweeping the cliffs, seeking any trace of the freighter and its passengers. "Time to move," Jard said, standing at the freighter's controls. Lyra and the Virelians gathered around, silent but alert. They had trained through the night, practicing maneuvers, energy pulses, and strategies for evasion. Their faces reflected exhaustion but also determination. This mission was no longer about escape alone. It was about reclaiming freedom for all of Lyra's people. Jard studied the holographic map one last time. "The northern mines are heavily guarded, but there is a weak point," he said. "A supply corridor. It's narrow, mostly unused, and lightly patrolled. If we move fast, we can use it to reach the main holding area without being detected. Together, we can make it work." The Virelians worked alongside him, generating subtle energy pulses that hid the freighter's heat and energy signature. As they approached the corridor, a small patrol drone appeared. Jard held his breath. Lyra extended her pulse, sending a flicker that confused the drone's sensors. It hovered briefly, scanning the wrong area, and then moved on. Jard exhaled softly. "Good. That's one obstacle down. The holding area is just beyond the next bend. Prepare the teams." Group A generated bursts of energy that flickered along the walls and floor, mimicking movement and drawing the attention of patrolling drones. The corporation's enforcers rushed toward the false signals, leaving the corridor ahead mostly empty. Jard piloted the freighter closer, heart pounding. The tension was nearly unbearable. Every sound, every flicker of light could signal danger. But he trusted his instincts and he trusted the Virelians. Group B slipped into the holding area. They moved quickly, unlocking doors and guiding frightened Virelians toward the freighter. Children clung to parents, elders followed slowly but deliberately, and all around the air buzzed with anticipation. Freedom was within reach. Suddenly, an alarm blared. One of the enforcers had noticed a discrepancy. A door slightly ajar, a faint heat signature. Jard's stomach sank. "Change of plan," he shouted. "Group B, continue the extraction, but Group A, create a larger diversion. Use every pulse you've got." The freighter lurched forward, taking advantage of the confusion. Jard's fingers flew over the controls, weaving between drones, using narrow passages and overhangs as cover. Inside the holding area, Virelians moved with newfound courage. They had spent their lives as prisoners, but now, empowered by human strategy and their own skills, they were agents of their own liberation. Jard felt a surge of pride. This was humanity's influence, the ability to inspire courage to think differently, to turn the impossible into achievable. Minutes stretched like hours. Every step, every pulse, every maneuver mattered. Drones scanned, enforcers shouted, but the combined human-Virelian team moved with precision. Jard guided the freighter closer, ready to scoop up the last group of prisoners. "Almost there," he muttered, eyes narrowing. "One more batch." Jard pushed the freighter to its limits, engines straining as they lifted off into the cliffs. Lyra's face glowed with relief. "We made it," she whispered. Jard allowed himself a small smile, but he did not relax completely. They were free, yes, but the corporation would not give up. Pursuit was inevitable. They needed a destination, a place to regroup and recover. "Take us to the eastern cliffs," Jard ordered. "There's an abandoned outpost there. We can hide, rest, and plan our next step." The Virelians, though exhausted, began to explore their surroundings. It was not a palace, but it was safe. Supplies were scarce, but the location was defensible, hidden, and ready to become a temporary stronghold. Jard gathered the team. "We survived the escape," he said, "but freedom is more than leaving the colony. We need a plan to stay free, to protect yourselves, and to ensure the corporation cannot take you back. Humans are underestimated for a reason. Other species think we act recklessly, but that's our advantage. We improvise, adapt, and use what others overlook. You combine that with your skills, and we can achieve more than they ever thought possible." Old equipment was repaired, energy systems set up for defensive and diversion purposes, and the freighter hidden from view. The rescued Virelians explored their new freedom cautiously, learning that survival did not have to mean hiding in fear. Lyra approached Jard, her luminous eyes reflecting gratitude. "You risked everything for us, human. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do. Humans aren't perfect, but when we see injustice, when we see others suffering, we have a tendency to act. And sometimes, we surprise even ourselves. Courage, intelligence, and heart, that's what matters, not just strength or numbers. And together, we can do great things." Days passed as the team rested and recovered. The Virelians began to adapt to their freedom, learning human tactics and sharing their own knowledge. Jard taught them strategies for evasion, improvisation, and planning. Lyra demonstrated energy manipulations that could disable sensors, mislead drones, and protect the freighter. Slowly, they became a team, not just survivors, but agents of their own destiny. One morning, Jard stood at the freighter's observation deck, looking at the horizon. The cliffs of Xiren stretched endlessly, dotted with patrol drones and mining structures. The corporation was powerful, yes, but he had seen something stronger, the combination of human ingenuity and Virelian skill. "Human," Lyra said softly, stepping beside him. "What now?" "Together." And for the first time, Jard allowed himself to imagine the future. Virelians living freely, humans exploring new frontiers alongside them, and the promise that together, they could challenge any force that sought to oppress. The freighter's engines hummed softly as it rested in the outpost. Outside, Xiren's sun rose higher, illuminating the cliffs with gold and silver. Inside, humans and Virelians worked side by side, planning, preparing, and dreaming. The corporation might come again, but for now, freedom, hope, and unity reigned. Jard turned to Lyra one last time. "We've done something remarkable," he said. "Not just survival, but giving life back to those who lost it. That's what humans can do when they choose to act." The adventure was far from over, but one thing was certain. Humans could rise to any challenge, inspire those around them, and change the fate of worlds.